Hi everybody, I'm Chris Watson, and welcome to this edition of the NYSPHSAA Captains Club, presented by the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association. Today we're at Glens Falls High School in Section 2 to introduce you to Joseph Girard III. He is New York State's all-time leading scorer in the history of boys basketball, and it's his drive and sacrifice that made him one of the most highly recruited players in all of the country.
He had a ball in his crib, and he was pretty good at maneuvering with that at a young age, and would be able to crawl and have it in one hand and still do it. And his first word was ball.
And from that moment forward, Joseph Girard III was destined to be an athlete. For those who watched him grow up, they knew this kid was going to be something special.
We knew early on, even in elementary school, he would be playing in games, and he was definitely, he stood out with his ability, obviously, to shoot it from deep, but the other parts of the game, rebounding, passing, he was definitely well above everybody else.
Right from the get-go, he was always like a step ahead of all the other kids. I mean, it was obvious, and not just like the way he played that was above the other kids, the competitiveness that was above the other kids. I mean, when he was younger, everyone would get mad when they would foul or stuff, but you could just see it in his eyes.
And by the 8th grade, Joseph was playing varsity basketball, a unique spot for a young kid with unquestioned talent.
He is once-in-a-generation type kid, and you could see it when he was younger. He loved to play, and then I think from there he knew he was going to be really good. He worked at it, and he had a lot of positive people around him to inspire him to want to continue.
Finding playing time was easy for Girard as an 8th and 9th grader. What was hard was finding his role when it came to leading others.
You're not going to make friends sometimes, being a leader. You're going to make enemies sometimes, but at the same time, they're all going to listen to you just because of your leadership status and how you carry yourself. So I learned that I had to carry myself the right way and do it in the right manner. You got to know who can take it when you're getting in the heat. I know Trent's going to take it because I can give it to him whenever I want, and others, there's some that you can't. So I've talked the talk, but at the same time, you got to get everybody to walk the walk as well. And when you all come together, that's when it's really special.
He sucked every bit of talent and potential out of our other kids, and sometimes it wasn't a popular thing. He'd tick a few kids off, but at the end of the day, they knew why, and we appreciated that.
He's worked on his leadership, picking teammates up rather than putting them down. His game and the game of those around him has improved, and his will to win wears off on others too.
Yeah, I pretty much just hate losing. I got a lot of family members around here, like I've said, and playing pickup, even who gets done eating first, just stuff like that. It's just something that has made me the person and the player that I am today. Losing in anything was not fun for me. Way back then when I'm growing up, I would cry about it, throw hissy fits, and even sometimes turn the tears to anger and start fighting with my cousins and family. But it's just something that I've been born with. Being a competitor, you have to hate losing. I mean, if you're all right with it, you probably shouldn't play competitive sports.
I think it's just something that's born from within him, that no matter what he does, and it's not a cliche, whether it's checkers or chess, he wants to be the best. One of the things that I tease him about, and it still happens now, is handling disappointments. Back in 3rd or 4th grade, he had that checked off. Doesn't handle disappointments well. So he's learned to challenge that, right? But when he was younger, again, whatever it was, whether he got told no, right? Whether he lost, whether he couldn't, he didn't handle that well. So as parents, we worked on that along the way, and I think he's channeled that to where he now knows how to handle that. And we talk about, win with class, lose with dignity, and he's done that along the way. He's been able to, again, mature. I guess it also comes with it. So he's handled all that along the way very good.
He was the ultimate teammate. In the idea that if somebody was down, instead of maybe the bark, now, just a pat on the backside. And isn't that what we want? You don't need a C on your chest to be a captain, right? There's many other ways to lead, and I think that was a lot of our mantra with Joseph, is like, there's other ways.
Joe could have specialized and played only basketball, but that was never an option. He was the quarterback of the Indians football team that won a NYSPHSAA State Championship as a sophomore in 2016, and then won it again as a senior in 2018. And those titles mean something special to everyone in Glens Falls, a community that has always embraced Girard.
When the gym was filling up, my worry was I just want to get there and get a seat, because I thought I wasn't going to be able to get a seat to watch them play in basketball. There were so many people coming just to watch them. the team as a whole, and Joseph too, of course, but the community just surrounded him, and just, I feel like they think that's their hometown boy now. He's representing us, and Joseph says that, and we as parents tell him that too. You're not out there on the court just doing it for yourself. You're representing your parents, your school, your team, the community, and I think everyone took pride in that, as was, filling up the stands at states and at the Federation.
Our community is hardworking, and so I think this group inspired those people, and we're part of this community, and they have a little piece of us in it.
Joseph scored over 4,000 points in his high school career, the most in New York State history. He averaged over 50 points per game and was one of the most talked about players in the country. But one thing was lacking on his basketball resume, and it was something he could never do by himself.
It was kind of the one open space in my, bucket list of things to do in high school. I wanted to win a state championship. I've already done it, like you said, twice in football, but the basketball one has been the biggest thing for me. I've said it plenty of times to people that averaging 50 points, being the all-time leading scorer wouldn't have meant, that much to me if we hadn't, won a state championship. And, people can believe that or not, but it truly is the truth. And like I said, I fell in love with the sport, but mainly I fell in love with competing and, winning.
But things looked bleak in the state championship game against Lowville. Down 1, in overtime, 3 seconds to go. But big players come through when the lights shine brightest.
For the state title, Trent Girard inbound. JG3 getting free, driving baseline, hits the layup. Joe Girard III, the leading scorer in New York State high school basketball history, has brought the championship back to Glens Falls.
Oh my goodness, what a beautiful take by Girard. He was so confident catching that ball on the baseline.
I remember looking at Trent, and there was 20 seconds left, and we were down 4. And he looked at me and said, "We're all right, Dad." And I'm like, if he's saying that, so I got to believe it. We didn't give up. I mean, it did look bleak, and we were feeling, I don't want to say we were feeling sorry for ourselves, but we were definitely saying, what my first thing was, what do I tell these kids after 27 games, the way they've played and the way, but thank God it happened the way it happened.
The stars were aligned, but there's a reason for it. I think you make your own luck, and I think those kids, throughout their many years of playing together and doing all that stuff, that kind of just all came together in that little 3-second span, which I'm playing in my brain right now and saying how cool that was that happened like that.
It was kind of one step that he really just got the corner on the kid, and right when I gave it to him, I was pretty confident that no one was stopping him once he got to that edge, since no one was in his way. And then even after he got there was another kid waiting for him. So there's 2 kids chasing him, 1 kid on his side, and another kid waiting in the paint. 1 kid jumps up, he goes up, clutches it, puts it in. And before he even shot it, I was running down. I already knew that we were state champs before it even went in the hoop.
All eyes were on Girard for that final play, as they have been for most of his basketball career. That's why schools like Duke, Michigan, Syracuse, and almost everyone else in the country wanted him to play for their school. The recruiting process was a wild ride for everyone involved.
It's something that I could only dream of, to be honest. Having coaches like Coach Boeheim, like you said, Coach K, Coach Beeline, all those guys come into my house and have dinner with me and my family, sit there and talk to me and almost beg me pretty much to come to their school is something that, like I said, is something that you'd only see in a dream. And when it's coming true, you kind of want to pinch yourself and just take a step back and realize what's going on.
A lot of times when he would have workouts with the assistant coach or the head coach, I would be the one that would be here working out with him and his dad, and it was amazing. It was like I was saying thank you to them for having me come. It's just cool being able to meet all these guys. I can't imagine what it was like for him, because it was crazy for us too.
And there was times, during this process, and I'll be honest with you, because, I was more of his manager, agent to where he didn't like me. We would have heart-to-heart, difficult decisions, and that was, my job, I felt, to make sure that he understood the pros and cons. And they're all going to tell you the great stuff, right, during the process, but it's my job to tell you, okay, here's who they have coming back, right? Here's how the offense they play. Here's what they play on defense, right? This is the real deal, right? I mean, and again, so my job was to educate him.
In the end, Girard picked Syracuse University to play his college ball, a decision that he made with the full support of family and friends. He did not get to this point overnight. and he's left a lasting legacy in Glens Falls.
I was comfortable with all those guys. I was comfortable with Coach Boeheim. I was comfortable with Coach McNamara. I was comfortable with the players, and I was comfortable with the campus. And one of the things that going into it, Coach McNamara is on the staff. He's been through everything that I've been through. He's a player like me, and with having him on that staff, I felt that there'd be no better person to learn from than Coach McNamara.
His work ethic is unparalleled. In the 16 years of all the great athletes we've had in here, his work ethic is above and beyond.
When he was younger, somebody misses a pass, the head would go down, right? Somebody didn't do whatever, he puts his hands on his head. He would show the frustrations, right? Because again, he's lucky that, he's as gifted as he is, but not everybody's like that. And I would say, hey Joe, you're not a very good piano player, but you know what? Somebody else is. And you wouldn't like them, getting on you about that. So we'd have those talks about that. And I think again, he's learned, right? Everybody has their own special talents, and to be a leader, you have to get the best out of those and utilize those talents the right way.
It's been surreal. It really has been a crazy ride. He's so grounded that he's, very quiet about it, but he lets it all out on the court or on the field. And so that's when we get to enjoy it as well with him. So we try to keep him grounded, focused at home with schoolwork, and at school he is, but just amazing when people come up to me at work or on the street and just say, you've done an amazing job raising your son. He's such a great person and so nice, and that is the best compliment, and it means that we did what we were supposed to do, and he's taken it from there.
Yeah, Glens Falls is, meant everything to me. My motto's been be different. It's been that for about 2 years now, and simply what that means is, I've had a lot of my friends from AAU and a lot of the circuits go over to prep schools. They leave their public schools to go do something bigger and better. But for me, it's been be different because I wanted to stay here with my friends. I didn't want to let those guys down, like I said, even with the football thing. I want to stay with my family. And I think the thing that set me over the top of staying here was Glens Falls as a whole. These people have been behind us the whole way, and I think that's the biggest reason that I've held so much of a love for Glens Falls, and why they've all loved us back is because we give back to them as well.
Girard will attend Syracuse University in the fall, but Glens Falls will always be home. And it's this community that shaped him into the player and person that he is today. For the NYSPHSAA Captains Club, presented by the New York State Correctional Officers and Police Benevolent Association, I'm Chris Watson. We'll see you next time.